Accidental deaths can often be bizarre, with some of the most unusual and tragic incidents occurring in the most unexpected ways. From freak accidents involving everyday objects to strange and improbable scenarios, these deaths remind us of the unpredictability of life. While rare, these incidents often leave us questioning the fragility of human existence and the bizarre twists of fate. Sometimes life takes the most unexpected and tragic turns. What begins as a simple visit or a pleasant trip can end in a way no one could ever predict. Two separate incidents, separated by thousands of miles, remind us of the fragility of life and how everyday moments can lead to unimaginable tragedy. It was March 30th, 2015, a crisp spring morning in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Stephen Wojtak, a 74-year-old man, and his wife made their way to St. Joseph's Cemetery in Throop. This visit wasn't just another errand, it was a deeply cherished tradition. Every Easter, the couple visited the grave of Stephen's mother-in-law to decorate it with flowers, crosses, and ornaments. The act was one of love and remembrance, a way to honor family and the passage of time. The pair arrived at the cemetery around 10 a.m., carrying Easter decorations they had carefully picked out the day before. As they walked through the quiet grounds, their footsteps crunched softly on the gravel paths. The cemetery, tranquil and still, held the weight of countless memories for them. Reaching the grave, they stood together for a while, sharing smiles and tears, letting the moment settle into their hearts. Stephen knelt down to attach an ornament to the headstone. His wife stood nearby, holding the other decorations, ready to continue the ritual they had repeated so many times before. But without warning, the unthinkable happened. The headstone, large and heavy, suddenly tipped forward. It struck Stephen with immense force, pinning him beneath it. His wife's screams pierced the still air, shattering the peaceful silence of the cemetery. Workers who were nearby rushed over, desperate to help. But the stone was far too heavy to move, and there was nothing they could do. Stephen's wife could only watch in horror as her worst nightmare unfolded. Her husband passed away at the scene, his life abruptly taken in the very place they had come to honor the dead. A caretaker later explained that as the ground begins to thaw in the spring, the bases of older headstones can sink, making them unstable. It was an overlooked danger that led to devastating consequences. Stephen's final resting place ended up just a few feet from where he died, right beside his mother-in-law. A visit meant to honor life's fragility ended in unimaginable loss for a devoted couple who had only come to pay their respects. Thousands of miles away and 4 years later, another tragedy would unfold in a similarly shocking manner. In April 2019, Patrick McGuire, a 67-year-old man from Wisconsin, embarked on what he thought would be a trip of a lifetime. Along with his wife Anna and 2 close friends, he boarded a plane to Scotland. None of them had ever been there before, and they were eager to explore the majestic Scottish Highlands. It was a chance to experience breathtaking landscapes, rich history, and maybe even catch a glimpse of the legendary Loch Ness Monster. After a long flight, the group arrived in Scotland and made their way to the Glengarry Castle Hotel near Invergarry. The 19th century country house, nestled between Loch Ness and Loch Lochy, was a picture-perfect retreat in the heart of the Highlands. Surrounded by rolling hills, serene lakes, and ancient woods, the setting was idyllic. On April 12th, as the sun began to set, Patrick decided to step outside. He wanted to enjoy a cigarette and capture a few photos of the stunning twilight over the Highlands. Anna stayed in their room, watching television, thinking nothing of it. Hours passed, and when Patrick still hadn't returned, concern started to build. Anna called his phone, but there was no answer. Grabbing her coat, she hurried downstairs and began searching the hotel grounds. Outside, in the cold night air, she continued to call his phone. In the distance, she could hear its faint ring. Following the sound, she came upon a heart-wrenching sight. Patrick was slumped upside down on a metal bench. He remained in a seated position, but the bench had tipped backward, leaving his chin pressed against his chest and his face jammed against the hotel's stone wall. He was unresponsive and cold to the touch. Anna frantically called for help, But when emergency responders arrived, it was too late. Patrick had passed away. An investigation revealed the tragic sequence of events. As Patrick sat on the bench, it had sunk into the soft, wet grass beneath it. The bench tipped backward, and the impact rendered him unconscious. Unable to move, he became pinned in an awkward position, which led to positional asphyxia. The hotel admitted they had tried to address the issue of sinking benches by placing wooden blocks in the grass, but these makeshift solutions had not been sufficient. The incident led to a court case, where the hotel accepted full responsibility for the accident. While they were fined for breaching safety regulations, the penalty was little comfort to Patrick's grieving family. Both of these tragedies began as ordinary, peaceful moments. Stephen Wojtak and Patrick Maguire had no idea that their fateful days would end so differently from how they began. These stories remind us of the fragility of life and how quickly the mundane can turn into the unimaginable. As we reflect on the tragedies of Stephen Wojtak and Patrick Maguire, it's clear how unexpected events can change lives in an instant. But these aren't the only bizarre accidents that remind us of life's fragility. Stay with us, because up next is a story even more unexpected, one involving a routine maintenance job that turned deadly in the most shocking way. Imagine something as simple as fixing a broken urinal leading to a fatal accident. The following case will leave you stunned, proving just how quickly the ordinary can become extraordinary in the blink of an eye. Keep watching to hear the full story. This unusual and tragic story begins in the heart of London, in the bustling area of Cambridge Circus. It was a seemingly ordinary afternoon on Friday, January 27th, 2023, when 60-year-old maintenance worker Kevin Holding set out to do what he had done countless times before. Kevin lived in Beckingham in southeast London with his wife. He worked for High-Tech Washroom Solutions Limited, a company tasked with maintaining innovative restroom systems across the city. Kevin was not just a dedicated worker, but also a loving husband, father to 3 children, and a grandfather. His family adored him, often calling him the best granddad in the world. On that fateful morning, Kevin received a call about a jammed telescopic urinal outside the Palace Theatre. It wasn't unusual for him to be called for such repairs. This was a job he knew well. For those unfamiliar, telescopic urinals have been in use in the UK for around 2 decades. During the day, these urinals are hidden underground, blending seamlessly with the pavement. However, at night, they rise hydraulically to provide a practical, temporary solution for public sanitation. Although efficient, their design and mechanism require regular maintenance, which occasionally led to calls like the one Kevin received that day. Thinking nothing of it, Kevin got into his work van and made his way to Cambridge Circus, arriving at the scene around 10:30 a.m. He began his work as usual, using his expertise and tools to address the problem. The task seemed routine, something he had done dozens of times before. However, this time, things took a horrifying turn. As Kevin worked, the telescopic urinal suddenly became unjammed. With its powerful hydraulics and heavy metal structure, it slammed shut, trapping Kevin underneath. He was on his hands and knees at the time, and the urinal came crashing down on his waist, pinning his upper body underground while leaving his legs exposed above the pavement. The weight of the structure and the hydraulic pressure turned a routine maintenance task into a nightmare. Emergency services were called at around 1 p.m, reporting a man severely injured and trapped inside a telescopic urinal. Paramedics and firefighters arrived promptly, but even the most experienced among them had never encountered anything like this. Kevin, who was only identified later through his Oyster card, was wedged in a nearly impossible position, with the upper half of his torso trapped beneath the ground. Rescue efforts began immediately, but the urinal's powerful hydraulics had locked it into place, making it impossible to move manually. Firefighters and paramedics tried every tool they had: crowbars, jacks, and brute force, but nothing worked. The situation became more urgent by the minute, as the crowd of onlookers grew. Tourists and locals alike watched anxiously as emergency responders fought to free Kevin. Realizing the tools they had were insufficient, the team called for a specialized industrial crane to lift the urinal entirely. However, the crane wasn't expected to arrive until at least 3:15 p.m, leaving rescuers to continue their efforts for several agonizing hours. When the crane finally arrived, it took immense effort and coordination to lift the urinal off Kevin. The sight was harrowing, and it was clear that he was in critical condition. Paramedics worked tirelessly to stabilize him before loading him into an air ambulance. Tragically, Kevin succumbed to his injuries before reaching the hospital. A post-mortem later determined that he died of compression asphyxia, caused by the immense weight and pressure of the telescopic urinal. This tragic incident sparked immediate action from local authorities, who launched a review of the safety protocols surrounding telescopic urinals. As a precautionary measure, other units in the area were temporarily decommissioned while safety assessments were conducted. Questions were raised about whether more robust safeguards could have prevented such a catastrophe. Kevin's passing left a profound impact on his family and community. He was remembered not only as a skilled and dedicated worker, but also as a beloved husband, father and grandfather, whose life was taken in a senseless and tragic accident. For those who knew him, Kevin's memory serves as a testament to the risks faced by workers who quietly keep the city functioning. In the world of crime, some cases are so shocking that they change everything we thought we knew. These stories are filled with the darkest twists, where ordinary moments turn into unimaginable horrors. Today, we will explore one such tale, a tragedy that left a community devastated. It's a case that unfolded in the most unexpected way, leaving behind more questions than answers. Get ready to hear about a crime that still sends chills down the spine of anyone who remembers it. It was a quiet summer night in June 2021 in Hampton, Virginia, when 4-year-old Cody Bixsby vanished without a trace. His father, Cody Bixsby, reported him missing months later, setting off an investigation that would reveal dark secrets, a cover-up, and a tragic ending. Cody was born on January 12, 2018, to Dana Abdul Kareem and Cody Bixsby. He was a happy child with bright brown eyes, deep dimples, and a love for Spider-Man. His parents separated in 2019, and by 2020, Cody had taken full custody of their 4 children. Dina later claimed Cody was reluctant to take Cody, calling him a mama's boy. But in November 2020, she handed the kids over. Cody refused to give her his home address, cutting off her access to them. On January 31, 2022, Cody called the police, saying Cody was missing. He claimed he last saw his son sleeping at 2 a.m., but when he woke up, Cody was gone. Police arrived at Cody's apartment at Buckrow Point Townhomes, and a massive search began. The FBI, K-9 units, and volunteers combed through neighborhoods, waterways, and fields, but there was no trace of Cody. Officials noted inconsistencies in Cody's story, and because there was no evidence of an abduction, an Amber Alert was not issued. On February 3rd, Cody was arrested, not for Cody's disappearance, but for child neglect. Investigators found out he had repeatedly left his kids home alone. In one instance, he drove to Norfolk to buy a car, leaving them unattended. His lawyer argued these charges had nothing to do with Cody, but the police insisted Cody was the key to solving the case. Days later, volunteers continued searching, using drones and machetes to clear dense areas. A candlelight vigil was held, where people sang and prayed for Cody's safe return. Then, a child's blue jacket, similar to Cody's, was found in a field behind Cody's apartment. Hope sparked briefly, but no further clues emerged. Meanwhile, Cody's mother, Dina, thanked the public for their support, but said she was legally restricted from saying much. Months passed with no progress. In July 2022, Cody was hit with 30 child neglect charges. Although none were directly related to Cody's disappearance, they painted a grim picture of neglect. His family defended him, even offering a $25,000 reward for information. By January 2023, a year after Cody vanished, his memorial remained at a local soccer field, filled with stuffed animals and handwritten notes. Then, in June 2023, a grand jury indicted Cody for homicide and concealing a body. Prosecutors claimed Cody had died in June 2021, 7 months before Cody reported him missing. In November, prison letters written by Cody surfaced, revealing disturbing confessions. In one, he admitted finding Cody unresponsive, attempting CPR, then panicking and placing his body in a trash bag. Another version stated Cody had fallen down the stairs and died. A third note claimed Corey had struck Cody, then placed his body in a bathtub before burying him. In February 2024, the trial began. Dina broke down in court as she saw the last known photo of Cody, taken in June 2021. He looked different, sad, mad, and scared, she said. Cody's older brother, now 7, recalled seeing his little brother lifeless on a bed. "I was thinking he was dead," he whispered. Prosecutors showed evidence that Corey took his other kids to an amusement park in July 2021, weeks after Cody had allegedly been killed. Officers also read Corey's written confessions, including details of where he buried Cody's body in Maryland. However, searches in that area found nothing. After 3 years of lies and heartbreak, on June 18, 2024, Cody Bixsby was sentenced to 45 years in prison for killing Cody and hiding his body. He still faces additional neglect charges that could add up to 162 more years. Despite the overwhelming evidence, Corey denied everything. "If I confessed, they should have found my son, but they didn't," he claimed. Though Cody's body was never recovered, his case led to real change. In 2024, Virginia lawmakers introduced the Cody Alert, a new system for missing children who don't meet Amber Alert criteria. It was signed into law in May 2024, and within months, the first Cody Alerts helped rescue 3 missing children. Cody Bixby's life was tragically short, but his story left an impact. His name now stands as a symbol of protection for other children, ensuring that no one disappears without a fight. While the case of Cody Bixby left the world stunned by the heartbreaking turn of events, another case would soon surface, one that involved a missing child, a shocking confession, and a killer who had been hiding in plain sight. But what connects these 2 stories? Could it be that, in the darkest corners of our communities, evil sometimes walks right past us, unnoticed? Stay with us, because the next chapter will reveal a mystery that not only rattled an entire town, but also forced people to question the very nature of justice and the lengths one man would go to keep his secrets buried. This is a story you won't want to miss. It was a warm, sunny day in the small town of Rosebud, just outside Melbourne. The streets were peaceful, children played in their yards, and life moved at a slow, predictable pace. In this quiet town lived a bright and cheerful 6-year-old girl named Sheree Greenhill. She was full of life, always running, always smiling. Everyone in the neighbourhood knew her, and she was adored by her family, especially her mother, Carrie. That afternoon, Sheree had been restless, looking for something to do. When the local mini-golf course was closed, she eagerly volunteered to run an errand for her mother. Carrie handed her some money and told her to buy milk, lemonade, and a little treat for herself. Excited, Sheree put on her pink hat, hugged her mother, and ran outside. That was the last time Carrie saw her daughter alive. Hours passed, and Sheree did not return. At first, Carrie thought maybe she got distracted or stopped to play, but as the sun started to set, worry crept in. Then, a neighbour knocked on the door, pale-faced and shaking. "Carrie, they found Sheree's bike. It's lying on the roadside, but she's not there." Carrie's heart pounded. She ran out into the street, calling her daughter's name. But there was no answer, only silence. Panic spread through the town. A search party was formed. Police officers, neighbours, and volunteers scoured every inch of Rosebud, calling out for Sheree. Flyers with her picture were distributed. The news covered the story, and soon, the entire country was watching. Then, a disturbing witness account surfaced. A young child had seen Sheree getting into a blue car with a man, but no one knew who he was or where he had taken her. Days turned into weeks, and still, there was no trace of little Sheree. Her mother pleaded on television, begging for her daughter's safe return. But deep down, everyone feared the worst. 3 months later, the worst was confirmed. A small, lifeless body was discovered in a storm drain. When the DNA results came back, they shattered every hope. Sheree Greenhill was gone. Her mother collapsed in grief. The town of Rosebud, once peaceful and safe, was now haunted by the brutal reality of what had happened. But the most horrifying question remained unanswered. Who did this to Sheree? For 2 years, the case went cold. Then, an unexpected break came from an unlikely source. A therapist named Margaret had been counselling a man named Robert Arthur Selby Lowe. Something about him unsettled her, and one day, he made a comment that sent chills down her spine. You know, "I wonder what the worms did to her body." Margaret stiffened. The way he spoke, the calmness in his voice, it was almost like he was reminiscing. Something told her he wasn't just imagining this. He knew what had happened. Quietly, she reported her suspicions to the police. Detectives placed Robert under surveillance. Over time, more disturbing comments emerged, small hints that he was hiding something dark. Then, a shocking discovery was made. Robert had written a full confession to his therapist, admitting to the murder of Sheree Greenhill. The police finally had their man. When he was caught shoplifting, officers searched him and found yet another handwritten confession in his pocket. The evidence was undeniable. Robert Arthur Selby Lowe had taken Sheree's life. The trial was swift. The courtroom was packed as the judge read the final verdict. "Robert Lowe, you are sentenced to life in prison." Robert sat emotionless. There was no remorse in his eyes. But in the crowd, Carrie clutched a locket with Sheree's picture inside, tears streaming down her face. Justice had been served, but it would never bring her baby back. Years passed, but the pain never faded. One day, the news broke. Robert Lowe had died in prison. Carrie heard the announcement but felt no relief. There was no victory in this, no undoing of the past. Sitting in a park with her grandchildren, she looked up at the sky. "Rest now, my baby," she whispered. Though time had moved forward, the memory of Sheree remained frozen. A 6-year-old girl with a pink hat, laughing, full of life. She would never grow older, never come home. But in the hearts of those who loved her, Sheree would live on forever.